Breaking the mold, unleashing authenticity in a world of labels. Welcome to a transformative journey that will challenge your perceptions, ignite your spirit, and inspire you to embrace your truest self. Today, we're diving deep into the revolutionary insights of Dr. Demisha Burns, a visionary leader who's reshaping narratives and empowering communities with her groundbreaking work. Dr. Burns, affectionately known as Dr. D, is not just an academic or an advocate. She's a force of nature, a catalyst for change who spent over 25 years in social work and advocacy, touching lives and transforming communities. Imagine a world where every individual, regardless of their background or orientation, could show up authentically, disruptively, and unapologetically in any space. This isn't just a dream. It's the reality Dr. Burns is working tirelessly to create through her groundbreaking initiative, Sis Unleashed. Her words, stop trying to fit into a mold that you were meant to create, are more than just a catchy phrase. They're a rallying cry for a revolution of self-expression and empowerment. Let's pause for a moment and really let that sink in. How many of us have spent our lives trying to fit into molds created by society, by our families, by our peers? How many of us have dimmed our light, muted our voices, or hidden parts of ourselves to fit in? Dr. Burns challenges us to recognize that each of us is a unique, multifaceted being. Our sexuality, our gender, our race, these are all important parts of who we are, but they don't define us entirely. They're threads in the rich tapestry of our identity, not the whole picture. Think about it. How many times have you made assumptions about someone based on a single aspect of their identity? How often have we, as a society, failed to see the whole person because we're too focused on one characteristic? This narrow thinking doesn't just affect individuals, it impacts entire communities. It creates barriers, perpetuates stereotypes, and stifles potential. But what if we could break free from these constraints? What if we could create a world where everyone feels empowered to bring their whole selves to every situation? This is the world Dr. Burns envisions, and it's a vision that has the power to transform society from the ground up. Consider the impact of allowing Black women in the LGBTQ community to show up holistically and authentically in every space. These are women who are mothers, daughters, sisters, grandmothers, and aunts. They're CEOs, entrepreneurs, and leaders in their fields. They're change makers and visionaries. By embracing their full identities, they're not just improving their own lives, they're paving the way for others to do the same. Dr. Burns' work with Sis Unleashed is at the forefront of this transformation. By providing a safe space for Black women in the LGBTQ community, she's not just offering support, she's fostering a revolution of self expression and empowerment. The impact of this work extends far beyond the individuals directly involved. When we allow people to show up as their authentic selves, we unlock a wellspring of creativity, innovation, and positive change. We create a society that's more inclusive, more understanding, and ultimately more productive. But let's be clear, this isn't just about tolerance or acceptance. It's about celebration. It's about recognizing the unique strengths and perspectives that each individual brings to the table. It's about understanding that our differences don't divide us, they enrich us. Dr. Burns' journey is a powerful example of this principle in action. As a survivor of domestic violence, rape, and molestation, she could have retreated into silence. Instead, she used her experiences as fuel for her commitment to systemic change. Her resilience isn't just inspiring, it's transformative. From moderating discussions with prominent figures like Congresswoman Barbara Lee and California's first Surgeon General, Dr. Nadine Burke Harris, to bringing hope to survivors of the Rwandan genocide, Dr. Burns has consistently used her voice to amplify the voices of others. Her work reminds us that when we embrace our whole selves, we become more effective advocates for change. We become better equipped to address complex societal issues, from the impact of COVID-19 on communities of color to enhancing the holistic and sexual health of African Americans. But here's the thing, creating this kind of change isn't just the responsibility of people like Dr. Burns, it's up to all of us. We all have the power to challenge assumptions, to create safe spaces, to celebrate the full spectrum of human identity. So, what can you do? How can you contribute to this vision of a more inclusive, empowering society? First, start with yourself. Examine your own assumptions and biases. Are there aspects of your identity that you've been hiding or downplaying? What would it look like to embrace your whole self unapologetically? Second, create space for others to do the same. In your workplace, your community, your circle of friends, be the person who celebrates diversity in all its forms. Be the one who asks questions, who listens without judgment, who encourages others to bring their whole selves to the table. Third, challenge the status quo. When you encounter systems or attitudes that limit people based on a single aspect of their identity, speak up. Use your voice, your vote, your influence to push for change. Remember, this isn't about erasing differences or pretending they don't exist. It's about recognizing that our differences are our strengths. It's about understanding that when we allow people to be their authentic selves, we all benefit. Imagine a world where every Black woman in the LGBTQ community feels empowered to shine her light brightly, lighting the path for others to follow. Imagine the innovations, the art, the solutions to global problems that could emerge when we stop forcing people into predetermined molds and instead celebrate the unique molds they create for themselves. This is the world Dr. Demisha Burns is working to create, and it's a world we can all help build. It starts with a simple yet powerful idea. Stop trying to fit into a mold that you were meant to create. Now, let me share with you a story that illustrates the transformative power of this approach. Meet Jasmine, a 32-year-old Black woman who identifies as queer. For years, Jasmine struggled to reconcile her sexuality with her faith, her role as a mother, and her career as a corporate executive. She felt fragmented, as if different parts of her identity were at war with each other. Jasmine's turning point came when she attended a Sis Unleashed workshop led by Dr. Burns. For the first time, she found herself in a space where all aspects of her identity were not just accepted, but celebrated. She saw other Black queer women who were successful professionals, loving mothers, and active members of their faith communities. Through the workshop, Jasmine learned to embrace all parts of herself. She realized that her queerness didn't diminish her faith. In fact, it deepened her spiritual connection. Her experiences as a Black woman in corporate America didn't conflict with her role as a mother. They made her a more empathetic and resilient parent. Armed with this new sense of self, Jasmine returned to her workplace and took a bold step. She came out to her colleagues and advocated for more inclusive policies. To her surprise, her authenticity was met with support. Her team's productivity increased, and she found herself being tapped for leadership positions she had previously thought were out of reach. But Jasmine's transformation didn't stop there. She became a mentor to other LGBTQ employees, creating a ripple effect of authenticity and empowerment throughout her organization. She joined the board of her local PF Lag chapter, bridging gaps between the LGBTQ community and communities of faith. Jasmine's story is just one example of the profound impact that can occur when we create spaces for people to show up as their whole selves. It's a testament to the power of Dr. Burns' vision and the transformative potential of embracing our authentic identities. But let's push this concept further. What if we applied this principle of authenticity and wholeness, not just to individuals, but to entire systems and institutions? Imagine a healthcare system that doesn't just treat symptoms, but sees and addresses the whole person, their physical health, mental health, spiritual well-being, and social context. A system that understands that a Black transgender woman's health needs are influenced not just by her biology, but by her experiences of discrimination, her economic realities, and her cultural background. Envision an education system that doesn't try to fit all students into the same mold, but recognizes and nurtures each child's unique gifts and challenges. A system that understands that a young Black girl's academic performance might be affected by the stress of systemic racism and provides support accordingly. Picture a criminal justice system that doesn't reduce individuals to their worst actions, but sees the whole person, their trauma, their potential, their humanity. A system that focuses on restoration and healing rather than punishment. These aren't just pipe dreams. They're possible futures that we can create if we commit to breaking molds and embracing wholeness in every aspect of our society. But creating this change isn't easy. It requires us to challenge deeply ingrained beliefs and confront uncomfortable truths. It demands that we address generational trauma and learn to communicate effectively to heal generational hurt and harm. Dr. Burns' work reminds us that this healing is possible. She's seen it happen in the lives of countless individuals who participated in Sis Unleashed programs. She's witnessed the transformation that occurs when people are given the space and support to embrace all aspects of their identity. One particularly powerful example comes from a group therapy session Dr. Burns led for Black LGBTQ women who were survivors of sexual assault. Many of these women had never before found a space where they could discuss all aspects of their experience, the racial dynamics, the impact on their sexuality and relationships, the intersection with their faith and cultural backgrounds. In this safe, affirming environment, something remarkable happened. Women who had been silent for years found their voices. They shared stories of pain, but also of resilience and hope. They formed connections based on shared experiences, breaking through the isolation that so often accompanies trauma. One participant, a 45-year-old lesbian who had been estranged from her family for decades, found the courage to reconnect with her mother. Through the skills she learned in the group, she was able to have honest healing conversations that bridged years of misunderstanding and hurt. Another woman, inspired by the support she received, decided to start a support group for LGBTQ youth in her church community, creating a space for authenticity and acceptance where it had been lacking before. These stories illustrate a profound truth. When we create spaces for people to show up as their whole selves, we don't just heal individuals, we heal communities. We create ripple effects of authenticity, empathy, and positive change that can transform entire social systems. So, where do we go from here? How do we take these powerful ideas and turn them into tangible change in our lives and our communities? It's first, we need to start with ourselves. Take a moment right now to reflect. What parts of yourself have you been hiding or downplaying? What would it look like to embrace those aspects of your identity fully and unapologetically? Maybe you're a corporate executive who's been hiding your passion for social justice. What if you brought that passion into your work, advocating for more equitable practices in your industry? Perhaps you're an athlete who's been struggling with mental health issues. What if you used your platform to speak openly about your challenges, breaking down stigma and inspiring others to seek help? Or maybe you're a parent who's been afraid to discuss your sexuality with your children. What if you had honest, age appropriate conversations that modeled authenticity and self acceptance? Whatever your situation, I challenge you to take one step towards showing up more fully as yourself in the world. It might be scary, but remember, your authenticity is your superpower. It's what allows you to make unique contributions that no one else can make. Second, we need to create spaces that allow others to do the same. In your workplace, your community organizations, your social circles, how can you foster environments where people feel safe to bring their whole selves? This might mean advocating for more inclusive policies at work. It might mean starting difficult conversations about race, sexuality, or gender in your community groups. It might mean simply being a better listener and creating judgment-free zones in your personal relationships. Third, we need to challenge systems and institutions that force people into narrow molds. This is where the real systemic change happens. It's not easy, but it's necessary. If you're an educator, how can you create curricula that reflect and celebrate diverse identities and experiences? If you're in healthcare, how can you advocate for more holistic, culturally competent care? If you're in business, how can you create products and services that cater to the needs of diverse communities? Whatever your sphere of influence, there are ways you can push for change. It might be uncomfortable. It might meet with resistance. But remember, every time you challenge a limiting mold, you create space for someone else to step into their full, authentic self. As we conclude, I want to leave you with a final thought. Dr. Demisha Burns called to stop trying to fit into a mold that you were meant to create isn't just about individual self-expression. It's a radical act of social transformation when we embrace our whole selves and create space for others to do the same. We're not just improving individual lives. We're reshaping society from the ground up. We're creating a world that's more innovative, more compassionate, and more equipped to tackle the complex challenges we face. Imagine a world where every person feels empowered to bring their unique perspective, their full range of experiences, their whole authentic self to every situation. Imagine the solutions we could create, the art we could produce, the connections we could forge. That world is possible.
but it starts with each of us having the courage to break out of limiting molds and create our own. It starts with us fostering environments where others can do the same. It starts with us challenging systems and institutions to recognize and celebrate the full spectrum of human identity and experience. So I challenge you today. How will you break the mold? How will you empower others to do the same? How will you contribute to creating a world where everyone can show up authentically, disruptively, and unapologetically? The path forward isn't always easy. It requires courage, compassion, and a willingness to challenge deeply held beliefs. But as Dr. Burns' work shows us, the rewards are immeasurable when we embrace our whole selves and encourage others to do the same. We don't just improve individual lives, we transform entire communities. Your uniqueness is your superpower. Your whole self, every aspect of your identity is what makes you valuable, what allows you to contribute in ways no one else can. By embracing this truth for yourself and creating space for others to do the same, you become part of a powerful movement for change. As you leave here today, carry this message with you. Look for opportunities to celebrate the full spectrum of human identity in yourself and in others. Be the person who creates safe spaces, who challenges assumptions, who encourages others to shine their light brightly. Remember, when we allow everyone to show up as their full, authentic selves, we all benefit. We create a society that's more innovative, more compassionate, and more equipped to tackle the complex challenges we face. So let's take Dr. Burns' challenge to heart. Let's stop trying to fit into molds we were meant to create. Let's embrace our whole selves, unapologetically and authentically. And in doing so, let's create a world where everyone feels empowered to do the same. Your authenticity is your power. Use it wisely, use it often, and watch as it transforms not just your life, but the world around you. The world is waiting for the unique contribution only you can make. It's time to break the mold and create your own. The revolution of authenticity starts now, and it starts with you. Are you ready to unleash your true self and change the world?